The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Morgan asked me whether or not she should do it, and I just wanted it to be over with, so I said, just go berserk, do what you have to do.
I came up from behind her, and I jumped on her. I tackled her, and I stabbed her. I just want to let Ella and her family know I'm sorry. I never meant this to happen.
The Slender Man stabber is caught. Morgan Geyser escaping her group home over the weekend. We'll talk about where she was found and what's going to happen next. Plus, a former Teacher of the Year going viral, but for all the wrong reasons. This woman was filmed allegedly beating her own son with a belt. Plus, Ashley Buzzard on the move? Her daughter Melody still missing this morning as her mother was seen packing up a U-Haul. We have one of America's favorite judges on the program to weigh in. Also coming up this hour, the cause of death is revealed for the 18-year-old who was found dead on a Carnival cruise ship. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. I missed you over the weekend and we planned a great show for you this morning. So let's get it started as we always do. Grab that cup of coffee right now. It's time for my opening statement. Going somewhere? While state and federal officials are searching for Melody Buzzard, her mom Ashley appears to be moving. My brilliant friend and colleague, Ashley Banfield, with News Nation, obtained exclusive video footage showing Ashley Buzzard loading moving boxes and appliances into a U-Haul. Ashley Banfield and her team reported on her show, Banfield, that Ms. Buzzard drove away in that U-Haul to an unknown location and then came right back to the home that she shared with Melody. So, this sorry excuse for a mother who should be in jail right now appears to be moving. Why? And where is she moving to? How could anyone even contemplate a move when their baby is missing? That beautiful 9-year-old child has been gone for over a month now. And the woman who's responsible for her well-being isn't doing a darn thing to help find her. In fact, by not cooperating with the police and sharing what she knows, she's actually further endangering the welfare of her daughter, Melody. And that's why I, all along, have been of the opinion to charge her and lock her up. And then she wouldn't be so busy moving, would she? The jail is a home already set up for her. So, my friends, let's hope and let's pray that precious Melody is alive and well and will be able to be rescued soon. Let's pray for those people in her family, not her mother, the other people who are worried sick about her. And let's hope that eventually Ashley Buzzard winds up exactly where she belongs. And in my opinion, that's behind bars. That's my opening statement on this Monday morning. My friends, let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
So any explanation that you've ever been told or heard about why John Skelton would have hidden them? They're adults today.
Correct.
They could walk through that door right now.
Wish they could.
But they can't.
No.
Why is that?
Because John killed them.
Defendant John Skelton in court this morning for a probable cause conference. So 15 years later, this guy's accused of murdering his 3 young sons. Court's going to start up at 10 a.m. We'll keep you posted on that one. In Mississippi, we've got defendant Victoria Cox with a plea hearing scheduled for 10 a.m. So this woman is accused of assisting Daniel Callahan, who abducted 2 young sisters after murdering their mom. The girls were raped and one of them was killed. Callahan pleaded guilty. Now Cox has written a letter that she does not want to go to trial. We'll see what happens this morning. Right now, though, we turn to your top story on this Monday morning as attacker Morgan Geyser is captured. She is the girl who stabbed her friend Peyton Lutner 19 times back in 2014 in order to please the fictional character Slender Man.
I came up from behind her. I jumped on her. I tackled her. And I stabbed her.
Do you know how many times you did it?
19.
According to police, Geyser cut off her ankle monitor and escaped her group home where she's been staying. This all happened on Saturday night. She was seen with an adult acquaintance, we know. Police releasing this surveillance image of her. Madison police say Geyser was taken into custody last night in Posen, Illinois, which is about 25 minutes just south of Chicago. The 22-year-old was found at a truck stop with another person. Authorities say that the pair took a bus to get to Posen. Back in March, a judge ordered that Geyser be released from a mental hospital and sent to a group home after 3 psychologists testified that she was prepared for supervised release. So, should the judge have known better that this would happen? Let's bring in our power panel now. We've got high-profile attorneys Tommy Pope and Mario Gallucci and nationally known family and relationship expert Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Great to see you all this morning. All right, Mario Gallucci, start us off, please.
So in a case like this, you know, when she was sentenced on a not guilty by reason of insanity, it doesn't mean she goes to prison. It means that she goes to a mental institution, and she will continuously get treatment. And at some point, there's a diagnosis or a prognosis, and the judge in this case was advised that she's no longer a threat, and maybe her supervision could be relaxed a little bit. And that's why she was released to a group home instead of staying in the mental institution she was in. So the judge in this case was guided by doctors. Doctors would make an analysis. Doctors would give updates routinely to the judge. And at this point, the judge believed that she could be released to a home and just be, you know, supervised in a group home. Obviously, it was not the right decision since she has fled and has now been captured, but the judge goes based upon what a doctor recommends. The judge is a judge, he's a lawyer, not a doctor.
Mario, great point. The judge relied on the opinions of those psychologists. I have a feeling our psychologist on the panel would have told the judge differently if she was called in. Dr. Sue, what do you say?
Oh, boy. Well, I think Morgan Geyser pulled the wool over these psychologists. And, you know, Julie, you and I talked about this a month ago, that this was not a good move, and titrating her down to a group facility wasn't the best move. Listen, everybody, this is a kid that stabbed someone 19 times. Not one time, not 2 times, 19 times. And by the way, did they ignore that behind closed bars she was having violent communication with a man who I think was the guy at the bus stop, by the way? So, you know, I think she's a manipulative sociopath and fooled everyone. And by the way, Julie, how do you cut off a monitor off of your leg? That's news to me. I don't know how you do that. Do you?
Criminals do that. We see it happen. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're not foolproof. Tommy Pope, with that question in mind, the other person, I like Dr. Sue's theory there, that was this person at the bus stop the one communicating with her? We don't know. But Tommy, a 2-part question for you. Part 1, just want your general reaction to this and whether the court erred. And then 2, if this woman had assistance in her little breakout, are we thinking charges are coming for the assister?
I think, number one, I don't lay it at the judge's lap, but they don't have a crystal ball. I remember when I was first a prosecutor, we had a sexual assault case. The victim didn't want to go through, and so we had to have a lesser plea. Years later, that guy became a serial killer in North Carolina. Obviously, we would have never I don't know what we would have done without a victim, but we would have never, not prosecuted or prosecuted on a lesser extent. So that's number one. Number two, I really kind of lay it at her lap. Back when I ran the Bloodhounds at State Law Enforcement Division, the juveniles, they went through a series where they didn't have a fence. And so they really had and they wouldn't punish them if they ran. So every Saturday, the juveniles would run, get down on the river, we'd be called out to try to catch them. But if they got away, they would go to the mall for the day and then get caught and go back, and there was no punishment. I think for her, she's not thinking past now. And I think the odds are it is, as everyone has said, the person she's probably been communicating with, and they thought they'd have an adventure and don't really think past, what the repercussions would be. And so going to the charge question, I would think absolutely if you're facilitating, again, it's like Mario said, now you're not necessarily in jail, so there may be a different set of rules, as far as escape and things of that nature. But the fact that she's under monitoring and escape monitoring, I think they would treat that the same way. And I think you could see some charges for this person forthcoming.
Tommy, thank you so much for that really helpful insight. And then with Morgan Geyser, let's talk about what needs to happen to her. So, Mario, let me go back to you on this question. Tell me what ideally... Well, this is a tricky question because you're a defense attorney through and through, Mario. Let me give you a two-parter, okay? Tell me what you think her defense attorney is going to try to do with her, and then tell me what you think the state's going to try to do with her.
So she violated a condition of her release by escaping the group home and by cutting off the monitor. So she's committed two new crimes. One is a violation of a condition, and one is the breaking of the monitor. So first, she's going to have to waive extradition to go from Illinois to Wisconsin. If she doesn't do that, then Wisconsin will get a governor's warrant, which is pretty routine, and then she'll be eventually brought to Wisconsin. Once in Wisconsin, she's going to have a hearing on the violation of the condition by leaving the group home and by breaking the bracelet. And I'm assuming that, as a defense attorney, I would say that she suffers from this mental illness or defect. She's still, not guilty by reason of insanity. And I would argue that, maybe she needs to have some more restrictions or supervision. I would probably argue that she doesn't have to be placed back in a mental institution, but I would say that more than likely that's a losing argument, and she will be placed back in a mental institution where she will be supervised again by doctors who will give routine updates to the judge on her condition.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mario. Dr. Sue, there was a lot of concern from the community about her release. I mean, many people spoke out, were just horrified at the thought of Morgan Geyser being back into the community, albeit integrated slowly by way of that group home. How dangerous do you think this young woman is?
I mean, I don't know how dangerous she is, but I would think that she had planned and plotted this while she was getting out back into society. I worried when I heard this that there was a possibility that she was going to go seek out the young lady that she stabbed. And there's always a possibility, Julie, when you've committed a crime like this before, that there's a possibility that you could commit it again. So the fact that she was in that group home and I believe planned to leave, there's a very big chance that she could be violent again. And this is why I believe that she should be put back in a mental institution where she is locked down there for further evaluation.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Dr. Sue. Tommy Pope, tell me, if you're the prosecutor on this one, what do you think is the most compelling argument to get Morgan Geyser back in that mental institution?
It's almost like arguing a bond here in my mind, Julie. It's a danger to the community and a risk of flight. She's obviously evidenced the second one. And so I think the difficulty here always that it's when you know there's mental illness, if there is true mental illness there, the folks that are treating her are always working to get her out. where sometimes, with prison, their job's to keep them. And so the mental health institution, I agree with Mario. I think she goes back to a more secure environment, but they're always going to be working to move her out. That's just the nature of the mental health system. When they get treated to a certain level, they want to move them out, both because of the strain on their resources and the nature of what their calling is, what they're set out to do. So I think the prosecution is going to move toward a danger to the community, risk of flight, put her in a more controlled environment. And then this may be subject to repetition, maybe not the escape, but the group home and the whole process. We may see this again years from now.
Yes, Tommy, thank you so much for that very important distinction between the function of the prison system versus the hospital. Very different functions, as you pointed out. Thank you so much. We'll leave it there for now. Coming up next for you here on Opening Statements, we're talking about a former Teacher of the Year arrested for allegedly brutally beating her son with a belt. The video has gone viral. Plus, is Ashley Buzzard moving? Her 9-year-old daughter still missing. We've got one of America's favorite judges on the show to weigh in.
We know that Melody was still with Ashley on that return trip, as close as the Colorado-Utah border on the Colorado side on October 9th.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Welcome back. In Alabama, a former Teacher of the Year is going viral for allegedly beating her son with a belt over 20 times. 44-year-old Randy Staples is accused of willful child abuse of a child under the age of 18. The video shot and released by her other children. And I want to give you a warning, this video is really difficult to watch.
Do what you're supposed to do. Do you understand me? Help! 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 Everybody else will say, please make sure you're welcome. And she run off down at the neighbor's house. Hello.
According to Fox 10 in Mobile, Staples was released from jail after posting a $7,000 bond. The same outlet spoke with Sheriff Paul Birch, who said, quote, I'm all about disciplining a child if you have problems with them. Everybody disciplines their children in different ways, but that was way above and beyond any form of discipline. Staples was fired by Cottage Hill Christian Academy soon after she was arrested. This morning, we're asking our power panel, is jail next on the syllabus for Staples? Let's bring back in psychology expert Dr. Sue Kornbluth, welcoming in the former director of Family and Children Services in the state of Georgia. He's also a lawyer and an author, Tom Rawlings, and the sheriff in Erie County, Pennsylvania, Chris Campanelli. Great to have you all on this one here. So, Tom, let me begin with you here, please. Is jail coming next for Ms. Staples?
Hey, good morning, Julie. I see this as she probably has no record, probably maybe a little short jail time, but probably probation, anger management, that sort of thing. I think there certainly will be child protective services consequences. I understand that the other children in the house are already staying with a relative, an aunt or something. So I think there are probably going to be longer term consequences with child protective services as well as with prosecution and police.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a great point, Tom. With Child Protective Services, what happens next there?
So it depends. They could resolve this sort of in an informal manner with some agreed to case plans, what we call a family preservation type case. But as I said, my understanding is, and I think this is probably what happened. Those children are not, the other children in the home are now with an aunt, I believe. They're gonna take some time before they simply put the children back in the home with her, especially this one child who's been very traumatized. And I understand that given that the other children were present, that is also a significant concern. When children witness this sort of abuse of another child, it's very traumatic for them. So there's going to be some work to be done before these children are reunited with their mother, I would believe.
Tom, excellent points. Speaking of the other kids, so yes, and you're correct, that Fox 10 station there is reporting that they're all with the aunt in Baldwin County. And the oldest son of this defendant had this to say. He said, quote, "I didn't feel like, she should be working at the school or even doing that to my little brothers. She's done it to me my whole life." He goes on to say the beating was about unfinished chores, saying that his brother went to the neighbor's house, came back, and then it transpired into that awful beating that we witnessed. Sheriff Chris Campanelli, to you next. This woman, does she belong behind bars in your view?
It's hard to say. I think at the stage of the game where we're at, I think she needs to have a mental health evaluation for sure. To do these despicable acts to her own child, I mean, it's disturbing. I think that would be the first thing, would do a mental health evaluation, and then they decide on charges from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sheriff, you're right. She needs to have a mental health evaluation and a drug and alcohol evaluation. Hopefully, as soon as she hit the jail, hopefully that happened. We'll see. Obviously, we're not privy to the results, as you all know. Dr. Sue Kornbluth, last but certainly not least on this power panel, this lady, should she go to jail?
I don't know if she should go to jail right away. She needs to be rehabilitated first and then determined. However, let's be clear, it's not just that one son that this was done to. The other child said it was being done to him his whole life. And what I think here is what I saw is that this wasn't her disciplining her son. This was her taking out something on her son. And that is the scary part of all of this. She needs help desperately, and so do these kids. I believe her son recorded this to trap her and to get her caught, so the abuse will stop. It's a very, very sad case, Julie, and I hope that these kids have a quick recovery, but as we know, trauma lasts forever.
A great point, Dr. Sue. Yeah, I appreciate what you said, and I'm certainly in agreement with you that this looked like this woman was in a fit of rage. This didn't look like controlled discipline. Someone saying, okay, child, you're going to have a spanking, and, and here is the setting. And, I mean, she's swearing and screaming, and it was so repetitive and forceful and brutal and over 20 times. To your point, that did not look like controlled discipline. That looked like, just felonious abuse to me. That's what I saw. I saw a felonious assault there when I watched that video. Tom Rawlings, the other thing, as you all know, this lady is a school teacher. So for many, it makes it much worse, because you just think, oh my gosh, aren't you taught about discipline and, handling children? Isn't that what you do with your teacher? Tom, a little known fact about you, you also are an author and have written on screening school teachers and weeding out the bad ones. Talk to us here about that aspect of this, if you would, please.
Yeah, certainly, Julie. One of the things is, remember, she was a second grade teacher. And especially when you have teachers who are teaching young children, of course, they go through a criminal background check. She probably didn't have any kind of criminal record. But, we really in this country need to be looking at doing more personal reference checks. When we're hiring teachers, we need to be asking people who know them well, would you trust this person with a child, especially when it's a young child who cannot speak up for themselves. And in my career, I've seen way too many situations where younger children and children with special needs, for example, autism, have been beaten by the very teachers with whom we entrust their care. And so it really says to me we need to do a lot better job of screening and vetting the the capability of individuals to care for children and to be trusted with children, because they may have these mental health issues that are not obvious from the beginning.
Sure. And Tom, thank you for that. And let's just say we don't know, but just for the sake of our analysis, let's say this woman is perfectly fine. She doesn't have a diagnosis. There's nothing mentally wrong with her. She's not abusing drugs or alcohol, that she just decided to do what we saw on that video. Sheriff Chris Campanelli, your thoughts on the behavior, the criminality of what we see here. What do you see as a sheriff when you look at that video, and what punishment should be appropriate for such an individual?
Well, I think I have a different perspective coming from law enforcement. I mean, if there's no mental health issue, she needs to be charged with an assault, a simple assault at the minimum. I mean, it's obvious by the nature of how severe this beating was to this child. I don't think any of us could disagree that she needs to be charged with some type of crime.
Right, Sheriff. Right. This has appeared to very blatantly cross a line from the area of controlled discipline to a very severe, painful, assaultive act. We'll keep following this woman's case as it progresses. She's just entering the system, and no more school teaching for her. We'll see if she winds up behind bars. Great talk with you all. Tom Rawlings, thank you so much. Dr. Sue, thank you. It's Sheriff Chris Campanelli, thank you. A happy Thanksgiving to all of you and your beautiful families. Every good wish as you celebrate this week. Thank you. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, here's what's next on Opening Statements.
Ashley, can you say if Melody is safe at this time?
So we got some new video we're about to show you of Ashley Buzzard. She's packing up a U-Haul. Where's she going? We're going to have the judge who presided over Casey Anthony's trial joining us live next. Don't go away. Plus, the cause of death revealed for teenager Anna Kepner, who died on that Carnival cruise ship.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
This is just so shocking to me, and that my granddaughter is dressed in a disguise. This is just so overwhelming. It's just so really scary. You need to tell them where the baby is. You need to tell them who's setting all these things up for you. I know you're not doing it.
As the search for her 9-year-old daughter continues, a brand new video shows mom Ashley Buzzard may be on the move. In a video obtained exclusively by News Nation and broadcasted on Banfield, our friend Ashley Banfield's show, you see this. You see Ashley Buzzard carrying out of her home boxes and appliances and loading them up onto a U-Haul in her driveway. There's still no update, though, on the whereabouts of her daughter, Melody. But Ashley did go to court last week. Here's more from Scripps News reporter Crystal Bermudez, who was there for Buzzard's hearing.
Ashley Buzzard no longer facing felony false imprisonment charges. I'm Crystal Bermudez, your Lompoc community reporter, and I was in the courtroom Thursday morning when the alleged victim's case took the stand. The judge ultimately deciding that there wasn't enough evidence to move forward. Much of Thursday's hearing was centered around testimony from the alleged victim, Tyler Brewer, and an approximately 6-minute-long audio recording Buzzard took during their conversation the evening of November 6th. A freelance paralegal and legal document assistant, Brewer told the court he first met Ashley through a friend back in 2014 and reached out to her recently offering his help. He testified that he visited Buzzard approximately 5 times between November 1st and 6th, stating the final meeting at her home, he felt Buzzard's demeanor, body language, and tone of voice prevented him from leaving. He shared additional concerns about a box cutter being located on a nearby table. Both sides played portions of the audio recording in court. While it was played for everyone to hear, we were not allowed to film any portion of the hearing. The prosecution argued the video documented the moment Brewer said he tried to leave her home. Brewer tells me he didn't know he was being recorded. I spoke with him about it over the phone following Thursday's hearing.
Now I understand why she was saying things and doing things the way she was doing it, because she was being recorded.
The defense argued the recording did not support Brewer's earlier statements, including that Buzzard prevented him from walking out of the home.
She had the tone, demeanor, and the audio recording of the conversation between the two.
I caught up with Buzzard leaving the courthouse during a break in her hearing.
Ashley, can you give any comments into Tyler's testimony today and pleading not guilty?
She did not respond. A key moment Thursday came when Detective Thomas Brownlee testified that statements Brewer made immediately after the November 6th incident didn't align with the recording he found on Buzzard's phone following her arrest or the statement Brewer later posted online.
Tyler Brewer told him on November 6th and how it reflected on the November 6th, 2025 Ashley recording, they did not align. And the impeachment testimony that Detective Brownlee provided may have factored in to the judge's ruling in this case.
Now, Ashley Buzzard has not been charged in connection with her daughter's disappearance. Authorities will say that she still won't cooperate. So what's going on with this mom? How can she function with her daughter missing? Some of you have been talking about how it's reminiscent of the Casey Anthony case. Well, guess who our next guest is? The beloved judge who presided over that trial, the Honorable Belvin Perry, now retired Chief Judge. Good morning to you, Judge. Thank you for coming on the show. Tell us, please, what you're thinking as you hear about this awful news of missing Melody Buzzard, gone now for over a month.
Julie, history has taught us that in cases of this nature, where a kid is last seen with their parent, and the kid suddenly vanishes, it does not have a good ending. And in this particular case, there are several red flags. You have the mom disguising identity. You have the license plate switching. You have the mom totally not cooperating. And now you have the mom leaving, getting ready to go to parts unknown, and she offers no explanation as to where her child is.
It's awful, Judge. It's awful. And you shared with us all those red flags, all the things that people watching this case are so infuriated over, that it seems that there's layers of deception here. There's also what seems like maybe some animosity or resentment, as we saw video of Ashley Buzzard actually taking down the missing posters of her daughter, taking down the pictures so people couldn't see her daughter's beautiful face. And it makes you scratch your head and think, how in the world is this fair that this woman is walking free? Judge, what are your thoughts on that?
Unfortunately, until we find out what happened with this child, until we have some concrete evidence as to her involvement in the disappearance or a body being found. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but chances are high that a body will be found at some point. There's nothing that law enforcement can do at this time. They have to have evidence to deal with the situation in this case. It's awful, but as long as this mom is not cooperating and there are no leads in this particular case for law enforcement to follow up on, it's just going to be a mystery.
It's an awful mystery, Judge, yes. I want to show you some video. This was obtained by News Nation. Our brilliant friend and colleague Ashley Banfield aired it on her show, Banfield, the other night. And look at this. You see Ashley Buzzard there carrying out moving boxes and home appliances, loading them in the U-Haul. And Banfield reported that as the U-Haul pulled away and Ashley Buzzard was in it, that presumably FBI and state officials tailed her, but then she returned to her home. And on Banfield, it was reported that the location where the U-Haul went is undisclosed. But we know that she came back home to that house. So she's moving items out, driving away in the U-Haul, then she comes back. It looks like she's moving, maybe not entirely moved, but partially moved. And here's the video where she gets into it and drives. And as I said, Banfield reported that they followed her. So obviously they're surveilling her. They're sitting there watching her every move. Judge, what do you make of what she's doing here?
Julie, it is unfortunate that she's devoting her efforts towards abandoning her child. She's not looking for the child. All the movements she's taken are very self-serving. She's only interested in herself. It's just bizarre. Most mothers would be looking for their missing child, but she's not. She's moving, and apparently she's going on with her life.
Right, Judge. It's awful. And we know she had quite a few movements that were tracked in that trip that I know you're aware of in early October, around October the 7th when it began, where she's going through several states, from California, going through Utah, Nevada, all the way to Nebraska, and then returning without Melody. Do you think there's a valid concern that she may have sold Melody into a situation either for sex work or for some kind of labor work?
Julie, that's a great possibility. She could have sold the child to a child predator, and hopefully she has not murdered the child, but nothing's good is going to happen as a result of these actions. Unfortunately, this child has been missing since October the 7th, and unfortunately, as I stated earlier, nothing good is going to occur.
Judge Perry, you're always so wise. We always talk about how you always share so much wisdom with us. And you're right, history has taught us awful lessons in these cases, that nothing good happens when you have a situation like this. Let's hope and pray for a miracle here for Melody Buzzard. Judge Belvin Perry, thank you so much for your time, your expertise. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your beautiful family. Hope to see you again soon.
Take care and happy Thanksgiving to you, Julie.
Thank you so much. We'll hit a break. When we come back, we're going to dig in more to what happened to the 18-year-old cheerleader who died on board that cruise ship. Her cause of death now being revealed.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
This morning, chilling new details in the death of an 18-year-old girl found dead on a Carnival cruise ship. ABC News is reporting that Anna Kepner's cause of death is asphyxiation resulting from a bar hold. It's when an arm is placed across the neck. We're also hearing that investigators found 2 bruises on the side of her neck, but no signs of sex assault or drugs or alcohol in her system. Kepner's body was reportedly found underneath a bed, possibly covered up in blankets and life jackets at the time she was discovered. Her 16-year-old stepbrother is considered a suspect, but has not been charged. An ex-boyfriend says that Anna's stepbrother was obsessed with her.
Whenever I was on FaceTime with her, and when I was on FaceTime with her, and she was laying down, and the brother tried to go on top of her.
Now, law enforcement is currently reviewing surveillance footage from that cruise ship and analyzing the electronic key card data to try to see who was accessing the cabin and coming and going at what times. Let's talk about what's going to tip the scales the most in this investigation, especially with the newly revealed information reported by ABC regarding the cause of death. Let's bring back in high-profile attorneys Mario Gallucci and Tommy Pope. Okay, let's talk about the stepbrother and charges, whether these charges are on the way. Everybody wants to know what's happening. Tommy Pope, what are your thoughts on that, please?
You know, I thought I had heard early, Julie, that they were sharing a cabin. The reason I'd say that is, you know, DNA evidence really may not prove much since he was in the room. It's interesting to me there was not a sexual assault. I was thinking, as you just told me that information, that if he really was obsessed with her, it may be the old, if I can't have her, nobody can have her. And so I think you're going to end up, you know, with what we're seeing now, seeing the brother ultimately charged. I mean, it's rare you see these deaths. Most of the deaths you see on cruise ships are somebody falling overboard. And so somebody that was committing a crime, it seems they would have taken that opportunity. So unfortunately, I think it leans toward the stepbrother.
Yeah, and great point you just made, Tommy, about there would be his DNA there anyways because of them bunking together. So you're right, that may not be very helpful. Mario, let me ask you this cause of death. Your thoughts on the asphyxiation and how a medical examiner could know the manner in which a hold may have been placed on her?
So typically what the medical examiner will do is examine, the whole entire body. And if they found bruises on the neck, they would look for signs of compression. And if they find the signs of compression and the lack of oxygen in the lungs, then they would determine that it was an asphyxiation. Tough word to say this morning. And they would, go forward with that. Now they have to prove who choked her. And like Tommy just said, you don't typically see this on a cruise ship, but this investigation will be done a lot differently than an investigation that's done out not on a cruise ship. I mean, you don't have easy pass records. You're not going to have cell site information. The only thing you're really going to have is any witnesses or, as you just said, key card, who went in the room, who went out of the room. And also there's surveillance all over cruise ships, especially in the hallway. So if there's surveillance of him going in the room and nobody else going in the room and then him leaving the room, I think you're going to have some charges pushed upon him.
Right, Mario. And what about any charges for any of the parents? Tommy, at the custody hearing recently, which is where, by the way, we're only hearing information about this stepbrother potentially being a suspect, the FBI, as you both know, being very tight-lipped. But in filings that are trustworthy, I mean, this is coming from the boy's father and his attorney saying that they have questions about whether the boy's mother, and that would be Anna's stepmother, whether she was properly supervising these kids on the cruise ship. Tommy, curious, if there were red flags, if this boy did have an obsession with Anna, and if he was possibly exhibiting some dangerous or concerning behavior toward Anna, might there be any culpability for the parents?
Well, Julie, this always sounds cliche, but it's based on the evidence. If you've got sufficient evidence piling up of known or should have known, we're hearing basically the tip of the iceberg. And I always view any family relationship, we know about her mother not being able to attend the funeral and all those things. I always view it through a pretty suspicious filter because domestic creates the worst of us. I think we see that all the time in, divorce, and you really can't ever figure out who's truthful and who's crazy. And so I think if the evidence yields to it, they would look at that. Arguably, maybe even the mother civilly, but again, I noticed that supposedly the dad was saying the mother wasn't paying child support, and in my experience, if I'm seeing a mother have to pay child support, she must have been a pretty poor mother, because at least here in South Carolina, they normally defer to the mother. So there's a lot going on there. I think it's going to be based on the evidence.
Right, Tommy. Mario, quickly, one last question. If this young man who's a juvenile is being federally charged, that adds a layer of complication, right? Isn't there are a couple mechanisms that need to happen before we could potentially see the case go through the system?
Yeah, well, I mean, if he's going to be federally charged, they're going to have to, grab him in the jurisdiction he's in, and then it's going to be very difficult to find. I don't know where the boat was out of. It's probably going to be the jurisdiction is going to be out of whatever port the boat was out of. Let's assume it was Florida, then the jurisdiction would be the federal system in Florida. Or maybe they would bring it to wherever his jurisdiction is, where he lived. So, I mean, the feds will figure it out.
Yeah, so lots of questions, and charging can sometimes be complicated, as you both know so well.
That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on CourtTV.com.